Hi guys, so I thought I'd start off the new content of my channel with a very simple Arduino project that actually you can control a 12-volt fan with 5 volts from an Arduino with just pressing a push button once to turn it on and pressing it once to turn it off. And this can be used to power on 120 volt appliances or basically anything with this relay. And that's what the circuit looks like. I'm going to go into the software first, but I'm going to go through it kind of slowly. So the first thing you want to do, up here you can see, I'll go through it on paper so I could like move it up. So the first thing you want to do is set the relay pin to output. And you can do that by declaring a pin 9 as the relay, and then I've declared pin 10 as the input from the switch. And then the current state of the switch, I'm setting it to high, and the input digital read and the int last, and the rest of that you guys will see over in the loop what I'm going to do with those. So first I said pinMode relay to output and pinMode of the input to input, and you could ignore this. So with these over here that you saw, the current state, the input digital read, and last, what I'm going to use those for is for basically being able to press the switch once, and if it gets pressed again, you could just press it one time to toggle the output on and off just with one click without using a regular type of switch, because that would just be too easy. So I did the input digital read is equal to digital read input. If that is high and the last input is low, which that's initially how it's set up, it's the initial / last state, then the current state is low, which is what you want, or else the current state should be high. And you're basically going to write that current state into your relay output, and the last input is going to be whatever you just did here and what your state was, because this is in the void loop, so it'll loop back up here and it'll read it again. And then at the end I just put this delay for 50 seconds for a slight debounce to avoid any noise. And that's what this exact code is here. You don't really need that Serial.begin. I was using it for some testing earlier, so I'll just comment that out. And now that I went through it kind of slowly and showed you guys what's going on, I'll explain in a little bit more detail what's going on here. So when I say if input digital read is equal to high and the last one is low, and if the current state is going to be high, it's nested within this if statement, then the current state should be low, because the current state is high and you're reading high, but the last one is low, and then or else current state equals high, so that whenever I click, the states will change. And it's pretty simple. That's why I thought I would start off my new content with this. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else I didn't explain very well. Oh yeah, I guess this part, whenever it starts at last equals input digital read, basically you're just setting this as the last state at the end of the loop, because you're going to reiterate over the loop again and get a new input, and that will be your new current state, as you can see there. So yeah, that's pretty much the code. Let me just go over the pretty simple hardware. So it first starts out from the Arduino. You get your output pin and your input pin. Your input is coming from this switch that I have a pull down 1K resistor to ground, and the other side is hooked up to a 5 volts, so that will be your input. And depending on that input from that code that we just looked at, your output will go to a NPN transistor's base from 1K resistor, and the emitter is hooked to ground, of course, and that output will just be inverted by a PNP transistor, which I kind of didn't draw correctly. Be like this, or so. That's a little better. And then the emitter is connected to positive. Obviously it's a PNP transistor, and that will be inverted, and that will go to the signal pin of your relay. Now, if you're using a relay module like mine, you don't need to include a flyback diode, but if you were using one, you would have to put a flyback diode. But I obviously didn't. Mine comes with the flyback diode for the coil, for the solenoid within. And between the normally, you can put it between the normally closed, but if you put it between the normally closed, whenever the relay is on, it will be the switch will be open, and then whenever you put it to normally open when the relay is on, it will be closed. And here's where I hooked up my load. I hooked up a 12-volt fan, and the 12-volt goes to the common, and that's pretty much it. You obviously, this part is a separate supply, and yeah, I'll show you on hardware how this looks. So over here I have the switch, the 5 volts coming from the Arduino, the NPN transistor, the PNP transistor. That's just to be able to drive this. And I have the fans positive hooked up to the normally open, and then the common is this wire, which is the positive of the separate 12-volt power supply. And then the ground of the fan is hooked up to the ground of that separate power supply. And now you can see there is, if I press this, it'll activate the relay. Press it again, deactivates it. And as I said, if you have a regular relay, such as, let's see, I have one right here, you would have to, between the power, you would want to put a flyback diode and the output so that it doesn't have a back EMF or reverse current into your transistors or into your microcontroller. And that isn't a problem I have to worry about because the module has one built in. And you could actually just kind of look at that if you would like. Let me just unhook these wires from it. You could look at the module. It's a Feldman module. So you could see from the relay to this, from the relay to the output, there is a flyback diode to avoid that back EMF. And I'll just end up putting that back into my circuit now. Try it out again. Oh, I forgot I unplugged the fan. Just put it back one more time so you guys can see. Okay. And this is really cool because you could replace that switch with, let's say, an input from, I don't know, a server or something, or anything. It can be, it doesn't have to be a push button like this. It's a good concept, and I will be making a video on how to make this work based on temperature. We'll, in my next video, with this temperature monitor here. Oops. This one, which is a DHT11, I believe. It's a temperature and humidity sensor. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about the code. I'll show you guys it one more time. And I will be including a link to the code in the video description. And thanks for watching.